Welcome back, dear listeners, to Real Talk English, where we explore life's big and small questions through the lens of language and shared experience. Today, we're diving into something truly cozy and essential: how to be positive every single day.
It's a topic I think many of us wrestle with, Emily. We often feel this pressure to be happy all the time, which can actually be counterproductive, wouldn't you say? It's not about pretending, is it?
Absolutely not, Paul. That's actually the very first gentle whisper of our theme today: learning to stay positive gently. Not by pretending to be happy, but by consciously choosing hope every single day. It's a subtle but profound distinction. Wouldn't you agree? Pretending often feels like a performance, an exhausting facade.
It does. It feels like you're putting on an act for the world, and inside, you might be crumbling. Choosing hope, on the other hand, feels like an internal decision, a quiet resolve. It's acknowledging the difficulty, perhaps even the sadness, but still looking for that sliver of light, that possibility of things getting better, or at least finding a way through. It's a much softer approach.
Exactly. And that softness is key to the cozy feel we're aiming for today. We're not talking about aggressive, forced optimism here. We're talking about a gentle, persistent turning towards the light, even when the clouds are heavy. It's about cultivating a quiet, inner resilience. I think for many people, the idea of being positive feels like a huge, overwhelming task, especially when life throws curveballs.
It can. And that's where the idea of positivity being a practice, not a personality, really comes into play. It's not something you're born with or not. It's a skill you develop, a muscle you strengthen over time, through consistent, small efforts. Just like learning a new language, you don't become fluent overnight. You practice daily, syllable by syllable, phrase by phrase.
That's such a perfect analogy, Paul, especially for our Real Talk English listeners. You wouldn't expect to wake up speaking a new language perfectly after just one lesson, right? So, why do we expect to instantly be a beacon of unwavering positivity just because we decide we should be? It's completely unrealistic and often leads to disappointment and self-criticism.
And that self-criticism is the enemy of gentle positivity. It pushes us further away from hope. So if we embrace the idea that it's a practice, it immediately takes some of that immense pressure off. We can stumble, we can have off days, and that's perfectly okay. The practice simply means we try again tomorrow, or even in the next hour.
It reframes failure not as an ending, but as a part of the learning process, just like mispronouncing a word or forgetting a grammar rule. You don't give up on learning English, you just try again. So, what's one of the most accessible ways to start this practice, this gentle cultivation of hope?
For me, it genuinely starts with a simple, yet incredibly powerful action. Beginning your day with one kind thought. Just one. It sounds almost too easy, doesn't it? But its impact is profound because it sets the tone for everything that follows. It's like gently nudging a boat in a particular direction at the very start of its journey across a vast lake.
Oh, I love that analogy. A gentle nudge. So, what does a kind thought look like in practice, Paul? Because for some, that might feel like another big ask when they're waking up feeling groggy, overwhelmed, or even just neutral. What if your mind immediately goes to the endless to-do list?
That's a very real scenario, Emily. And the key here is not to force a grand kind thought. It doesn't have to be about solving world peace or achieving some huge personal breakthrough. It can be incredibly small, almost mundane. For instance, it could be a thought about the warmth of your coffee cup in your hands, or the way the sunlight is filtering through your window, or even just the quiet comfort of your bed before you have to get up.
So, it's about noticing, isn't it? It's about bringing your attention to something pleasant, however small, that is already present in your immediate experience. rather than trying to manufacture a feeling. It's almost like a tiny act of mindful appreciation, a moment of gentle awareness.
Exactly. It's an act of noticing. And it takes you out of that automatic pilot mode where your brain immediately jumps to worries or tasks. I remember a period in my life when I was under immense stress, and every morning felt like a battle before I even opened my eyes. I started this practice, and at first, it felt forced. I'd think, okay, what's one good thing? The pillow is soft? But even that mundane thought, repeated daily, started to shift something.
The pillow is soft. That's so relatable. It's not about finding something extraordinary, but acknowledging the ordinary comforts. I often find myself doing something similar. If I wake up feeling a bit anxious about the day ahead, I try to focus on the sound of the birds outside my window, or the fact that I have a warm blanket. It's not a magical cure, but it does ground me. It's a small anchor in a sea of potential overwhelm.
An anchor is a perfect description. It's something to hold on to. And the beauty is, once you start with one kind thought, it can sometimes ripple outwards. That thought about the soft pillow might lead to a thought about how grateful you are for a comfortable home, which might then lead to a thought about the people who make that home feel safe. It's a gentle snowball effect, but it starts with that single, kind thought.
And it doesn't mean the rest of your day will be perfect. It just means you've given yourself a foundation. You've laid a tiny, positive stepping stone. And if the day gets difficult, you can remember that stepping stone, that initial, gentle intention. It's like sending a quiet message to your brain, hey, there are good things here too.
Precisely. It's a quiet affirmation. And over time, this practice becomes more natural. You don't have to consciously search as hard for that kind thought. Your brain starts to recognize and prioritize these small moments of comfort or beauty more readily. It truly changes your default setting, gently, without you even realizing it sometimes.
It's fascinating how our brains can be retrained with such subtle inputs. And this leads us to another crucial aspect of maintaining that gentle positivity, something that I think many of us struggle with in our interconnected world. Protecting your energy and peace with soft boundaries.
Soft boundaries. This is such an important concept, Emily. Because positivity isn't just about what you let in, it's also about what you gently keep out, or at least manage. Many people hear boundaries and think of rigid walls, harsh no's, or cutting people off. But soft boundaries are entirely different.
How would you describe a soft boundary, Paul? What's the difference between a hard boundary and a soft one in practice? Because for many, the very act of setting any boundary feels difficult, even aggressive.
That's a great question. And it's where the cozy aspect really comes in. A hard boundary might be, I'm not talking to you anymore about this. It's firm, perhaps necessary in some situations, but it can feel abrupt. A soft boundary, on the other hand, is like a gentle, permeable fence. It's a way of saying, I care about you, and I care about myself. And for my well-being, I need to manage this interaction in a particular way.
So it's about self-preservation without being confrontational or shutting down entirely. Can you give us some practical examples of what a soft boundary might look like in everyday life? Because I think many of us struggle to even identify when we need a boundary.
Of course. Let's say a friend always calls you late at night to vent, and while you care about them, these calls consistently disrupt your sleep and leave you feeling drained the next day. A hard boundary might be to stop answering their calls entirely. A soft boundary could be saying, I love hearing from you, but I need my sleep. Could we chat tomorrow morning instead, perhaps over coffee? I'm usually not available after 9 p.m.
Oh, that's beautiful. It acknowledges their need, validates the relationship, but also clearly communicates your own need for peace. It's not a rejection, It's a redirection. It's saying, I'm here for you, but I also need to be here for myself.
Exactly. Another common one is limiting news consumption. We live in an age of constant information, much of it negative. A hard boundary might be to completely disconnect from all news, which isn't always practical or desirable. A soft boundary is deciding, I will check the news for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, and then I'm done. Or, I will only get my news from one or two trusted, calm sources.
That's one I've personally had to implement. The constant barrage of information can feel like a direct assault on my inner peace. And it's not about being uninformed. It's about being selectively informed and protecting my mental space from the overwhelming noise. It's choosing what I invite into my awareness.
And it's so empowering because you're taking control. It's not just about external factors either. Soft boundaries can be internal. For example, if you find yourself constantly ruminating on past mistakes or future anxieties, a soft internal boundary might be to gently redirect your thoughts. Okay, I've thought about this for 10 minutes, now I'm going to focus on my breath for a few minutes, or go do something else.
So, it's about acknowledging the thought, but not letting it consume you. It's like gently saying, thank you for sharing, but I need to focus on something else now. It's a form of mental self-care, really. And it takes practice, especially when those negative thought loops are so ingrained.
Immense practice. I remember a time when I felt completely overwhelmed by commitments. I was saying yes to everything, convinced I was being helpful, but I was burning out. My energy was depleted and my peace was non-existent. Learning to say no or not right now was a monumental shift. It felt uncomfortable at first, like I was letting people down.
Oh, I know that feeling so well. The guilt can be enormous, especially if you're someone who naturally wants to please others. How did you overcome that initial discomfort, that feeling of guilt, when you started setting those soft boundaries?
It took a lot of internal work, Emily. I realized that by saying yes to everything, I was actually saying no to my own well-being, to my own peace. And if I wasn't at my best, I couldn't truly be helpful to anyone else anyway. So I started reframing it. Instead of, I can't do that, I'd say, I'd love to help, but my schedule is full this week, perhaps next month? Or, I need to prioritize some personal time right now, but thank you for thinking of me.
That's such a thoughtful and respectful way to communicate it. It shows you value the person and the request, but also that you value yourself. And that in itself is an act of positivity, isn't it? Prioritizing your own well-being so you can show up more fully when you do engage. It's not selfish. It's self-sustaining.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that your energy is a finite resource. You can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes. And protecting that cup with these soft, gentle boundaries allows you to maintain a baseline of peace and, consequently, a more consistent state of hope and positivity. It's about intentional self-care, not about building walls.
It sounds like a revolutionary concept for some people, especially those who've always put others' needs before their own. But it's a necessary step towards a more genuinely positive life. And speaking of small, intentional steps, this brings us beautifully to our final theme: practicing gratitude and small actions, even on difficult days, because these, as you say, quietly change everything.
This is perhaps the most profound of the practices, Emily, because it truly shifts your internal landscape. When we talk about gratitude, it's not about ignoring the difficult things. It's not about pretending everything is perfect when it's not. It's about acknowledging that even in the midst of struggle, there are often glimmers of light, things to be thankful for.
So it's not about comparing your struggles to others or minimizing your pain. It's about finding those tiny pockets of goodness within your own experience, however small they may be, and giving them a moment of your attention. Is that right?
Precisely. It's about shifting your focus, even momentarily. On a truly difficult day, when you feel overwhelmed, finding something to be grateful for can feel impossible. But it could be as simple as the fact that you have a roof over your head, or that you have a warm drink, or that you managed to get out of bed. These are not grand gestures of thankfulness, but quiet acknowledgments of basic comfort.
I remember a particularly tough week a few years ago. Everything felt like it was going wrong, both personally and professionally. I was just utterly drained, and a friend suggested I write down 3 things I was grateful for each night. At first, I scoffed. I thought, what is there to be grateful for? My life is a mess.
I've been there. That feeling of resistance, almost anger at the suggestion of gratitude when you're in the thick of it, it feels dismissive of your pain.
Exactly. But I tried it, and on the first night, all I could come up with was, I'm grateful for my warm socks. And I'm grateful the cat snuggled with me. And I'm grateful I found my favorite pen. They were incredibly small, almost silly things, but writing them down, even with reluctance, made me pause for a moment.
And that pause, that tiny shift in focus, is where the magic begins. It breaks the cycle of purely negative rumination, even if just for a few seconds. It creates a tiny mental clearing.
And over the next few days, it became a little easier. I started noticing things I wouldn't have before. The way the light hit the wall, a kind word from a stranger, a particularly good song on the radio. It didn't make my problems disappear, but it made them feel less all-consuming. It created space for a little bit of hope.
That's the quiet power of it. It's not about ignoring the storm. It's about noticing the small, beautiful things that are still present within the storm, or just beyond its edges. And this ties in perfectly with the idea of small actions, because when you're feeling overwhelmed, grand actions are impossible. But small ones are achievable.
What kind of small actions are we talking about here, Paul? Things that are so tiny they almost feel insignificant, but collectively they make a difference. Because sometimes even the thought of doing anything feels too much.
Absolutely. Think about making your bed in the morning. It takes less than 2 minutes, but when you finish, you've completed one small, tangible task. You've created a sense of order in one corner of your world. Or sending a quick text message to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, just to say, thinking of you. It's a small act of connection.
Oh, I love the bed making example. It's something I've heard before, and it truly does work. It's a tiny win right at the start of your day. A signal to yourself that you are capable of completing things, even when the bigger picture feels chaotic. It's like a quiet declaration of self-respect.
Precisely. Or taking a 5-minute walk around the block, even if you don't feel like it. Just moving your body, getting a breath of fresh air. It's not about running a marathon. It's about gentle motion. Or perhaps watering a plant. It's a small act of nurturing, a connection to something living. These actions are not about fixing your big problems, but about nurturing your inner state.
And they accumulate, don't they? Like those small deposits in a bank account. Each small act of gratitude, each tiny positive action adds up to a greater sense of well-being and resilience over time. It's not a sudden transformation, but a gradual, quiet shift.
It's a slow, steady current that gently redirects your ship. I remember a time when I was procrastinating on a huge project, feeling completely paralyzed by its scope. The anxiety was immense. I couldn't even bring myself to open the document. So, I decided, okay, I'll just clear my desk. That was my small action.
And how did clearing your desk help with the huge project? Did it just magically make the task feel smaller?
Not magically, no. But it did something important. It created a sense of control in one small area. And that feeling of control, however minor, was enough to give me a tiny bit of momentum. Once my desk was clear, I thought, okay, maybe I can just open the document. I don't have to do anything, just open it. And then maybe I'll just read the first paragraph. Each small action built on the last, and eventually the paralysis lifted enough for me to begin.
That's such a powerful illustration of how these small actions, even when they seem unrelated to the big problem, can create the necessary space and momentum for progress. It's about building confidence through tiny, achievable steps. It's like gently coaxing yourself forward, rather than demanding a huge leap.
Exactly. It's a very gentle form of self-coaching. And coupled with gratitude, these practices create a feedback loop. The small action gives you a sense of accomplishment, which you can then be grateful for. The gratitude then makes it a little easier to spot another small action you can take. It's a virtuous cycle, entirely driven by gentleness and self-compassion.
It truly is. And this entire conversation has really highlighted that idea. Positivity isn't about being relentlessly cheerful or ignoring difficulties. It's about a consistent, gentle practice of choosing hope. It's a quiet strength, isn't it? A resilience built not on force, but on tenderness towards oneself and the world.
It is, and it's accessible to everyone, regardless of their personality type or the challenges they face. Because it's not about being an extrovert or an optimist by nature. It's about making those daily, almost imperceptible choices. Choosing hope, starting with one kind thought, protecting your peace with soft boundaries, and embracing gratitude and small actions, even on the hardest days.
And these aren't just feel-good concepts. They're truly transformative practices that quietly, gently shift everything. They build a foundation for a more peaceful, more hopeful, and ultimately, a more positive daily existence. It's a journey, not a destination, and every small step counts.
Every single step. And remember, if you miss a day, or a week, or even a month, it's not a failure. It's just an opportunity to gently begin again. There's no judgment in this practice, only an invitation to return to kindness, to hope, to small acts of self-care.
What a beautiful sentiment to end on, Paul. Thank you for sharing these incredibly valuable insights. This cozy chat has truly offered a gentle path forward for anyone seeking more positivity in their lives.
My pleasure, Emily. It's always a joy to explore these deeper, more personal aspects of life with you and our listeners. Remember, be kind to yourselves as you embark on this journey.
And to all our wonderful listeners on Real Talk English, thank you for joining us today. We hope this conversation has given you some gentle tools and inspiration to cultivate your own daily dose of hope. We encourage you to pick just one of these practices, perhaps starting your day with one kind thought, and see how it quietly changes your perspective.
Yes, one small step. And remember, we're all in this together, learning and growing. We'd love to hear your experiences with these practices. Share your kind thoughts or soft boundaries with us.
Until next time, take care of your energy, protect your peace, and keep choosing hope, one gentle thought at a time. This has been Real Talk English. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, everyone. Stay cozy.